Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and yes, it's time for yet a new video. And today's video is going to be a top list, like a top 10 top list, and it's going to be the top 10 movie, damn, I can't speak today. My top 10 cannibal films. And this is all a bit of a tricky type of film, not film, but tricky type of like list to make because I try to focus on films that have like cannibalism or like the cannibals like in the center of the story, or like they're sort of like connected to the story in some way, which has a major part of the film. So you could argue that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes, and stuff like that has like cannibalism in it. But as for me, these are really like the definition of cannibal films in general. Because, like I said before, it just feels like the cannibals have like a really big center part of the entire story. So some people could argue that those films that I've already mentioned already have that type of storyline in it. So maybe some of you say, well, why didn't you include those films in your list? I Another reason why I didn't want to include them was because I wanted to like speak about a little bit more obscure stuff, or like other like maybe movies that you haven't seen, not seen, but that you probably haven't seen, or like movies that you probably not heard about before. Obviously, there's gonna be some of these films in here that you probably gonna know right away. Oh, I know that film and I know that film. So now I'm not really sure why I did this weird intro, but yeah. Well, let's begin right away. First up, we have like this triple pack, which I mean, this is actually like an honorable mention. You could say the first one right here in this cannibal set right here. This is how it looks like. This is with three cannibal films, but the film that I'm referring to is the film called Amazonia. I'm not really sure we can see that, but Amazonia, the Catherine Miles story. I believe this one is known as something else as well. I don't really remember, but um, this is barely even like a cannibal film in my personal opinion. It feels more like a weird adventure, almost like a drama romance type film, but it has like some cannibals in the background. And now I've already contradicted what I already said in the beginning of the film, but yeah, it just ended up to be like that just because it was part of this box set. So yeah, hey I ho, that's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, that's my number 11 if you say that, or like honorable mention. So at number 10, we have the film which pretty much like started the entire genre, to be fair. And this one is also in this collection right here, and it is let's see here, Man from Deep River. Not sure if you can see that right there, which is also known as Man from Deep River is also called something else, Deep River Savages, I believe. And that one was directed by Umberto Lenzi, and it has is this the guy who played this? Is it Ivan Rasimov? I believe his name was the guy who portrayed the lead role in this one. So he gets attacked out in the middle of the jungle, and he has to adapt to be a part of the tribe, you can say, to sort of like try to survive from this. And then he like falls in love with this other like woman within this tribe, and he has to like prove himself to be worthy of her, and stuff like that. So it's sort of like a weird. He has to like intervene like within that thing. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, Umberto Lenz has said like numerous of times, like, oh, I was the guy who like really popularized this genre, and some people say that it was Ruggiero Deodato, but yeah, that discussion has been going on for such a long time. So. But yeah, I mean, Man from Deep River, the River is still an entertaining film if you like those type of Italian cannibal films in general. So yeah, Man from Deep River, also known as Deep River Savages, I believe. We're gonna get back to that box set later on because there's yet another film in that box set which is gonna be included in this list. So at number 9 we have this one is so funny, Massacre in Dinosaur Valley, right there. Which is, I mean, you already say like, why would you put like dinosaurs in a cannibal film? I mean, this is not really a big spoiler. There's no dinosaurs in this film at all. It's just basically like in the title, and something just tells me they probably just try to lure people into watching this film. Um, Once again, it's a similar type of storyline, but this is like about, let's see, what's this one all about? Because this is one film I've not seen in quite a while, and I don't remember too much about it. But um, yeah, I mean, there's about a group of people. They get like stuck in the middle of nowhere, and they are attacked by cannibals, and they have to survive in the jungle. I mean, all of these films are basically like sort of like similar type of, in terms of storyline, and they always like kind of blend into one another, especially all of these like Italian films in general. So But I mean, this is a little bit more cheesy, a little bit more stupid, but it still has a lot of really fun and entertaining parts to it. So yeah, Massacre in Dinosaur Valley at number 9. At number 9, in number 9. Then let's see here. Then we have at number 8 we have Mountain of the Cannibal God, which was directed by Sergio Martino, and I believe this one was also known as something else. Let's see. Well, this was also known as A Slave of the Cannibal God. This was released in the late 70s, I believe. So yeah, before Cannibal Holocaust and all of that as well. So it predates that. But I mean, this film, once again, it's about people getting stuck out in the jungle. You got what I mean. I'm going to repeat myself over and over again. But I think the reason why I like some of these like Italian cannibal films in general are usually because they shoot, like most of the films they actually shot on location, like in like real jungles and stuff. It's not like someone's backyard and they pretended that to be a jungle, because they actually have like real jungle areas like when they shot this film. And I also really like the whole survival type aspect to some of these films. I mean, I've always been a fan of that type of genre in general. When it comes to horror films, like they're getting picked off one by one, and you're trying to like, oh, I'm rooting for this person, I'm not rooting for this person. And like you're trying to like, it's almost like a weird little like tense gamble there. Like, oh, who's gonna survive in the end, or if any, if that's the scenario. But this one has Ursula Andress in it, and it also has Stacy Keach in it, which is a very unique type of cast if you really compare like these films with other films in general in this genre. But I remember watching this with my friend, and we were just really shocked by the ending because it was really disgusting. If you've seen the film, you probably already know what I'm getting at. I'm not going to spoil it for any of you who haven't seen it because I want you to experience this film without me spoiling it, basically. So yeah, I mean, decent acting, entertaining, tense scenes. I mean, some of the scenes in the beginning could be a little bit sluggish from time to time when they get like introduced to like this other like friendly tribe, you could say. So yeah, Mountain of the Cannibal God at number 8. Then we have, let's see here. I need to probably do this because otherwise I'll get flagged. Next one is Eaten Alive by Umberto Lenzi again, I believe. Let's double check on that. I think this is also Umberto Lenzi. It doesn't say, I believe. Never mind. It's Umberto Lenzi as well, yeah. So this one has, what is that actress name? She's been in so many of these like cannibal films. Is it Laura Gemser, I believe? For some weird reason, I always confuse Laura Gemser with Meme Lai, I believe her name was, but I think this was Laura Gemser. I can be totally wrong about that. I'm not really sure why I confused, because both of those actresses have been in like these like exploitation type films in general. So, but this one also has Robert Kerman in it as well, which had a major role in Cannibal Holocaust. And yeah, I mean, the acting is good. I mean, this almost has, this is like with like this cult type of thing where this guy has taken over like this tribe basically, and everyone thinks he's a god. And I believe he's played by Ivan Rasimov, I believe, who was the lead in Man from Deep River. So we always have these films like connected to one another in some way. Now, one thing that I didn't care too much about this film was, I believe this was the one that had lots of scenes that were like not stolen, but like reused from other films before, which really took me out of the film. Like, oh, wait a minute, I recognize that sequence from this or this. So, but this one had really nice, intense sequences in it as well. Really, I mean, especially like the last 25 minutes or so, they are just really tense and really entertaining and action-packed. So, yeah, I really like that one as well. So, yeah, Umberto Lenzi's Eaten Alive at number 7. Let's see here. Then we have this one. Some people argue this is more of a zombie film. Some people say it's a cannibal film. Well, I'm just gonna put it in the cannibal section anyway because it actually has cannibal like in the title, so that's the reason why. So yeah, you have to deal with that. So yeah, the number 6 we have Cannibal Apocalypse by Antonio Margaretti, and unfortunately this is like the UK release right there. So this is actually cut. But what I've heard is there's only one sequence that was cut from this particular release, and it was a scene of a burning rat, I believe. And the rat scene, like that scene, I mean, that sounds horrific, but it's only like 1 or 2 seconds. So, I mean, even if they would have included that scene in this film, if you would have blinked, you would have missed it. So I don't really understand the purpose of just cutting that tiny little sequence. especially back in the day when it comes to like the video nasties and stuff, because it says right here up here like the original video nasty. So this one has John Saxon in it, and this is basically about these people that got like infected by some sort of weird virus, I believe, or they got like really mad, like when they were like in Vietnam, and then they go back to the US and they still have this virus and stuff that makes them turn into cannibals, basically. So it's basically up to John Saxon and some of his friends to deal with this situation, basically. So really entertaining premise. And another really funny thing about this film is apparently, this is just what I've heard, so I'm not really sure if this is like confirmed or not, but apparently John Saxon had no idea what type of film he signed up for. He thought it was going to be like a Vietnam drama film, but so he had almost no idea that this was turned into like a weird like cannibal film in general. So yeah, I thought that was really hilarious. But this is like I said before, this is almost like a 50-50 thing, because some people say it's more like a zombie film and some say it's cannibal. But yeah, it's, you have cannibal in the damn title, so yeah, you'll have to deal with that. But yeah, really entertaining, really action packed, great gore effects. That's actually something that I completely forgot about talking about when it came to some of the previous ones as well. That's usually the case when it comes to these films. I mean, the gore and the blood effects are really top notch, and so if you're a gore hound and you want more of that, go check out any of these cannibal films. They do not disappoint. Now let's see here. Then we have at number 5. We have like the once again Umberto Lenzi coming out. Well, let's see here. I think actually Umberto Lenzi. I have 3 Umberto Lenzi films, I believe, on this list. So, but this is his film that kind of like, this is almost like a copy and paste type deal. Not copy and paste, but it's sort of like a pretty much blatant like rip off of Cannibal Holocaust, and it is Cannibal Ferox right here, which came out I believe just 1 year later. A very similar storyline. The acting isn't as good as Cannibal Holocaust, not as realistic, not as like, because Cannibal Holocaust had this like found footage style to it, which made it really creepy and really unnerving or like unsettling. While this one is just played out like a regular film, basically, and it's about these people getting stuck in the jungle, and then they encounter like these two like I believe they're like drug dealers or like smugglers or something, and they kind of like befriend them, but then they realize that they are just really like a bunch of scumbags, really. That they're just treating like the cannibal tribe really, really badly, and obviously that turns back to them because the tribe gets mad, and then they are on the run from these cannibals. So yeah, they get punished in the most brutal way possible, you could say, all of them. So I mean, this one, I mean, if you've seen Cannibal Holocaust, you might like this one as well, or you actually might despise this because of how similar it is to Cannibal Holocaust. But I still think it's good. I mean, some of the bad things when it comes to some of these films are like all of the animal-related stuff in these films that I just don't like at all. I think that's just absolutely unnecessary. I think this has been like a topic that's been like discussed to death on YouTube when it comes to these films in general. So I do not support that one bit. I think that's just really the weakest or like the worst part about these films in general. Like they just had to use the animals just for the sake of making this film. But then again, you also have to acknowledge that when they shot these films, they shot it like actually like in jungle areas. So most of these people, like the tribe, actually, I mean, the animals that suffered like this, or the animals that had to pay with their lives, basically became food for the local tribe. So at least someone's stomach got filled. I mean, at least that's something. I mean, if that's even like something you can like sort of defend, but like I said before, I think that's like really the weakest point about these films, and I do not support that one bit. I think that's just absolutely disgusting that they actually had to, or like they actually thought they could benefit from that just to like hype the films up, if that makes sense. But as for everything else, though, I think these films are really entertaining in general. So, but anyway, as for Cannibal Ferox, this one is at number 5. So yeah. At one point, I actually preferred Cannibal Ferox, but I'm kind of like turned the tables on that one. And now we have the very first film, not the first film, but the first film by this director on this list so far. And it is Ruggero Deodato I'm referring to, and it's his film called Cut and Run. And this one comes in at number 4. I'm not sure if I actually said that, but and this is like a really old like Anchor Bay release as well. I have another like German release of this one as well because I'm such a big fan of this one. It has Richard Lynch being a scumbag. This is quite similar to Eaten Alive, actually, about this guy that kind of takes over the entire like tribe in a way, and they kind of like look up to him for some weird reason. I mean, in Eaten Alive, it made more sense, while Richard Lynch is just more like a weird drug dealer that has taken over this like location, like this area in the wilderness, basically, and they have all these cannibals helping him out for some reason. I mean, the storyline in this one is a little bit muddled in general, I would say. This one also has what's his name, Michael Berryman, playing a real crazy lunatic. I thought his performance in this one was just really, really entertaining and really, really fun. And the score as well to this one is so 80s and so entertaining to listen to. So if you have never heard this soundtrack before, go check it out on YouTube or anywhere you can find it. Now this says right here, uncut and uncensored. And the thing is, apparently, I'm not sure if this is like an issue with like most of these films in general, but I mean, sometimes when it came to these films that were shot in Italian or like shot in English, some sequences like were like, I think there was one or two sequences where they had to use the Italian audio instead of the English audio because the English audio that was supposed to be on those scenes were missing or something. So I'm not really sure if that's like an issue with this particular release or maybe like something else. I'm not really sure, but if you know anything else about that, please let me know. But this one, I mean, I would say this is one of the more action-packed cannibal films out there, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, Cut and Run, number 4. You could sort of argue, are the cannibals really a center of the story? Because I mean, in this one, if I'm going to be completely honest, they're a little bit more on the in the background in a way, but they're still there. So it's sort of like, yeah, you'll have to judge for yourself if you think that's just enough. So yeah. Then number 3, we have a film which I do have in my collection, but for some weird reason I can't find it. It's probably like stuck between like all of these films right here or something. I have no idea. But it's the film called, this is actually, I believe now when I come think of it, this is the only, I think this could be like the only film which was not an Italian production, surprisingly. But this film from is at number 3, and it's a film called Ravenous from 1999 about, this is not really any big spoiler or anything, but it's basically about, let's see here, Robert Carlyle. This takes place like in the 19th century, and it has Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, and David Arquette, and Jeffrey Jones. Let's not talk about him. If you know what I'm referring to, you probably already know. But this one, I like the setting, I like the locations. I mean, this is most definitely the most different film from this entire list because, like I said, most of the other ones were like Italian productions in general. So this is a completely different style to that. This has lots of really entertaining blood and gore effects, and it's basically has this. This is not really a big spoiler or anything like that, but it turns out that one of these characters are secretly like a cannibal, and they try to figure out who it is, and then they do that, and then it just gets absolutely crazy towards the end, and they have to fight for survival and stuff. So, and Robert Carlyle did an amazing job in this one. I think he really steals the show in this one, and he's just really, really creep in this one. So. This is very underrated. I would say this is one of the most underrated or like underappreciated like 90s horror films in general. So yeah, Ravenous from 1999 at number 3. Then let's see here. Let's move back to this box set right here again. At number 2, we have the last one in this particular box set. And it is the film called Last Cannibal World right here. Once again by Ruggero Deodato. I believe that was the first cannibal film he directed. And this one came out like at least a few years after Man from Deep River by Umberto Lenzi. So now the reason why I prefer Jungle, what's it called? Last Cannibal World. I think it's also known as like Jungle Holocaust or something as well, just because I just assume that's just to cash in on the like Cannibal Holocaust craze. But Last Cannibal World, great film. This one also has Memelai, I believe. I probably just butchered the pronunciation of her like name as well, but I think that's the actress in this one. And this one is basically about these people that get stranded in the. I keep repeating myself over and over again when I'm talking about these films, but you already know the premise from now. People get stuck in the jungle and they have to survive. Now, what I really like about this film is because it feels so isolated, much more like some of these other films or like some of these other like cannibal films. It just feels so isolated that they're just like absolutely in the middle of nowhere, and there's no civilization like nearby anywhere. and this guy, like the main character, has to like hide like within like in the bushes from like the cannibals, and in order to survive. And then he gets captured. I mean, this is not really any big spoiler, but then once again, this is similar to Man from Deep River, where he has to like adapt to the life as a member of this tribe, you can almost say. So he has to do that just in order to try to get out of there, basically, to sort of like deceive them. And of course, he gets some help from one of the ladies in this tribe, played by Mei Mei Lai, like I said before. This is not really a big spoiler or anything like that, but I mean, the nihilism of this film is what I really enjoyed as well. It's just so dark and so there's like no mercy in this film at all, like anywhere. So if you want to watch a really like sad, depressing, and really dark film, like with cannibals and with lots of blood and gore effects, go check this one out. So yeah, Last Cannibal World at number 2. And what could possibly be at number 1? Well, you've already guessed it probably, and it is the film that really, like, yeah, the most infamous one out of them all, I could say. Cannibal Holocaust right here, with once again Roger Deodato's most popular film, I believe. And this one, people have already talked about this film so much that it was like the reason why people thought it was so disturbing as well was because people actually thought this was real stuff back in the day when they made this film. And that definitely tells you something about the special effects in this one, because the special effects in this one is just really, really, really great. They are realistic and really creepy, and especially like that scene with that girl on that bicycle. That's how they explained it, how they made that scene with like the pole and stuff. You already seen that image like from time to time on the internet, I believe. But once again, like I said before, I do not like the whole thing with the animals. I think that's really disturbing and really disgusting. So I believe there's also like an animal free version. You probably already know what I'm getting at, but there's another version of the film where you don't need to see that. So you can watch that version as well, or like instead of the original version. Now, I prefer to watch the original version, not because I like to watch things going on right there, but it just makes you feel really like disgusted and depressing and depressing. It makes you feel really sad in general, and that really takes you into the film even more. I mean, if that makes any sense. I mean, I always want to watch the full length version of a film, even though it's a really horrific footage in general in the film. But yeah, I've already told you about that before. I just despise that in general. And so, I mean, it's not like something that I like enjoy to watch. So I'm not like a complete psycho if you think that. But I mean, this one, I mean, it's realistic. I mean, I love the fact that it's like sort of like found footage style as well, because I mean, some people say, oh, Blair Witch Project was the very first found footage film. I mean, like, well, have you seen Cannibal Holocaust? So you could sort of say this is like the very first, like at least one of the first found footage films, because you have this part like in the beginning of the film where they like investigate what happened to these like documenting team, where like they were making a documentary in the Amazons, and then they just like vanished, and then they find the footage, and then like that's when it becomes like a found footage style type of film. So yeah, both of those parts right there as well. And I mean, I can admit that some of the acting can be a little bit weird from time to time, but then again, you also have to realize what type of scenes these actors have to endure and how they had to act. Like, I mean, some of these scenes, I mean, even though if you would have been like a professional actor, you wouldn't have been able to make some of these scenes like. I mean, going through some of these scenes, because it's just so depressing and so disgusting. Some of these scenes they had to do, so I can't blame the actors too much for that one. So yeah. But yeah, like I said before, the score to most of these films are usually really entertaining. This is just really, this is almost like luring you into watching the film, because it opens up with this really like harmonic and really like beautiful music in general. Just like, oh, there's some stuff going on later on in this film. I get it. And I know there's plenty of other films that has done similar thing. I think Necromantic is another one that comes to mind. But yeah, anyway, Cannibal Holocaust. If you like cannibal films in general, or like any work by Umberto Lenzi, or like Roger Deodato or Sergio Martino, any of those kind of directors, go check this one out. But be warned when it comes to most of these films, they have some really rougher material in them. So yeah, you have been warned if you're really like sensitive about some of these things. So, but anyway, Cannibal Holocaust, the number 1. So yeah. So that's it. That's it for the top 10 cannibal films. Like I said before, this could have been completely different if I would have included Texas Chainsaw Massacre or The Hills of Eyes or any of these films, because they also have like cannibalism in them. But even though I wouldn't necessarily say that's like really like the main plot of the storyline in some of these films. So yeah. So, and like I said, when I usually make these lists, this is just how it is right now. If I would have rewatched some of these films, I might have just said, well, I don't like this film as much anymore. That's just dropping down from the list and replaced by another one, or like another order of the films as well. So, but this is just like it is right now at this moment. So yeah, you have to deal with that. Like, that's just my personal opinion. That's what I wanted to say. So anyway, hope you enjoy this particular video. And next one is probably going to be a similar type of video I made with the whole VHS films that I talked about, like Stuck in VHS, where I'm going to talk about films like specifically horror films that I would love to see get a DVD or Blu-ray release. So, and that's probably going to be like at least 2 or 3 parts, I believe, where I talk about 10 separate films, like for each part, you could say. So anyway, keep your eyes open for that video or like those videos. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye bye.